right? So this is really important. If you're a GP, is what are your assumptions behind the returns? If you're an LP, look behind the returns because you're looking for a risk-adjusted return. You have to understand what the risks are. If you want to understand the level of risk, you understand the assumptions being made. Question number 5 is, how conservative are the underwriting assumptions? Now, I didn't have the benefit of watching Apple's Way presentation to their investors, but I did see one of their cover pages or summary, which advertised an internal rate of return of 20. It was above 20%. I don't remember what it was, like 21 or something percent, which is a really high return for properties purchased during that time. Now, how did they underwrite that deal? Because, what assumptions did they make with regards to rent increases, vacancies, exit cap rates? Because here's the thing, I can make my spreadsheet say anything I want to say, right? So it's important not to pay too much attention to the returns, but to the assumptions behind the returns, right? So this is really important. If you're a GP, is what are your assumptions behind the returns? If you're an LP, look behind the returns because you're looking for a risk-adjusted return. You have to understand what the risks are. If you want to understand the level of risk, you understand the assumptions being made. So, for example, how realistic are the projected rent increases? Why does the operator believe they can increase the rents as projected, right? Is it because of renovations? What are the comps looking like? Does the story make any kind of sense to you at all? What about the vacancies, right? If you're doing a lot of renovations at like this typical in a value add deal, it's unreasonable to expect that occupancy rates are 90% after the first year. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're turning over units and so they're going to be emptier in the first year or two while you're executing your value add strategy. A big one, a big gigantic variable is the cap rate at exit, right? So the cap rate is basically it's a measure of valuing a property, and it's typically takes the NOI and from that determines the value of the property. The higher the NOI, the higher the value of the property is, right? So the cap rate typically varies over time and varies within a submarket. So this cap rate is this number that allows me to estimate the value of a building at any given moment. It's very, very important when you sell the property, okay? And so what is that cap rate? Typically in our underwriting, the cap rate is equal to or higher than it is now. And the higher the cap rate, the lower the prices are. So what we're saying is, well, just for good measure, I'm going to make the cap rate 0.5% higher than it is right now because it's just more conservative. Now, if you're looking at a deal where the cap rate is exactly the same as today, it's less conservative, more aggressive. If you see a deal where the cap rate at exit is lower, that means that the operator is predicting higher market prices in general. They're saying that the market is going up for some reason. And I don't love that because I don't know. I'm speculating. I can't control the market. What I control the NOI, and I control that by renovating the property, increasing the rents, reducing the expenses. So I control the NOI, therefore the value, but I can't really control the market. And so if you look at the cap rate, just look at it and say, well, is this cap rate lower or higher than the market cap rate is right now? The higher the cap rate is, the more conservative it is. It's an inverse relationship. All right. So look for that. So those are some of the things to look for is the vacancies, the cap rate, obviously the interest rates where you talked about that, as well as the rent projections. Right. So how conservative or how aggressive are they?